if you get enough quote unquote losses in a row and you're not moving forward, but you want to move forward, eventually becomes enough pain because you're confronting it in person type of thing that you do eventually change it. Ladies and gentlemen, today is January 13th, 2018. I meant 2019. And I hope you're having a phenomenal day. The time is also 3:09 p.m. It's a little bit midday because my morning went really weird. I was having a lot of resistance writing my weekly reflection, knowing that, first off, things were not coming to me as they should have been, quote unquote, should have been. And so yeah, I was just having some resistance around that. Got through it thanks to sleep and energy work, and I ended up coming with a fucking just kick-ass list of or a kick-ass weekly reflection. So hopefully I can share some of this and bring some value to you in the process. Weekly reflections is a series that I do every Sunday where I sit down, get on camera, and then share the highlights and takeaways, or the best takeaways, if you will, from my weekly reflection. And yeah, it's a good way to, number one, reset a week. A lot of people wait until New Year's to reflect. I like to do it on a weekly basis so I can not go for too long without doing and make sure I'm accountable to myself and make sure I'm doing the right things and not doing the wrong things for a long period of time. So that's number one. Number two, I get to document what exactly was happening in my week, what I was learning, what I was thinking about, what I was pondering, what I worked on, what worked, what didn't, etc. All that jazz, and just share what's going on in my life. It's like a nice little alternative for vlogging because I don't give a fuck about doing vlogging personally right now for me. So this is a good way of outlining my life. And yeah, so in a different mood, I had a mochaccino, and it like gives the coffee, but the sugar is making me a little bit tired right now. So I'm in a weird, and I can feel my head not appreciating the sugar too much. So anyways, let's just get right into it. And I hope this week is fucking kick-ass. And yeah, let's get into it. What's been on my mind? I've had a lot of stress around lists, and specifically because for me personally, I know I cannot work 16 hours of the day doing coding and shit like that. It's just, my mind is so tired by the end of the day and I can't think properly. So that's just me, my self-awareness around that. I'm open to being able to fix that eventually somehow, and I'm sure there are ways out there you can do it. But as of right now, that is currently my belief on the subject. And that has led to just me like thinking about like, okay, first of all, I'm not doing enough, and that I've had stress around that, and like trying to figure out ways to do more within that. I think content in the afternoon has been my big hack, but I've been spending so much time on exporting this week that I haven't had much content to quote unquote edit because I'm focused on getting 2018 reflections out there. I had a lot of challenges with that, but it's good now, thankfully. But yeah, just having a lot of stress, like, am I doing enough in life? Like all of these like little things because I'm not doing enough. This happens when you're not moving fast enough. You start to doubt things and question it all. So that is currently what is going on in my life for that. I'm just like, there's definitely some stress right now around that, and questioning. I'm like, I have so much more to give, and I know I'm not doing enough. So that's definitely top of mind right now. I've been also thinking a lot about ever after. I've been thinking about possible lineups. I've been thinking about possible housing situations in terms of like who's staying here, who's not, who's coming, excitement overall, and also a little bit of stress, and making sure that I had to make sure I don't think about it too much because it's like, first of all, it is 4.5 months away or 5 months away or whatever, but it is still on my mind nonetheless because it is one of my favorite weekends of the year. So that's there. On the list MVP side of things, I've been like thinking about all types of new things that I could do. My brain is trying to come up with a million different things to get me to not put out the list MVP. And I have to like consciously attack that and resist because I need to put out an MVP. And this always happens when I'm close. My brain just starts to come up with things to do that are stopping me from executing on the chief goal. So that is definitely the case right there. And it's something to pay attention to and consciously oppose, because it will hold me back if I don't do that. And the quick little happy medium with that is being able to pseudocode those things ahead of time. So while I'm excited about it, while I'm in the mood to put forth action and attention and energy towards those little features or those big features or whatever they are, pseudocoding is just very helpful to just outline exactly what I think could work, and then I'll come back to it later. Pseudocoding is fucking half the battle, in my opinion. So just being able to do it right is very key. What were my favorite wins? Compression functionality with images, and also cloud hosting. So with lists, which is so close to being done, by the way, like I'm projecting tomorrow it should be ready to go, and it'll be private beta. So if you want to sign up for lists, let me know. And it should be at lists.infinity, and infinity is without the two middle I's. So it's infnty.com, but it's list.infinity.com. Or sorry, not .com, .co. What am I saying? No .com, just .co. But I've been working on that and just all types of wins within that. But my favorite easily is the work I did with compression and cloud hosting. That was very complicated. My brain hurt a lot doing it. But it was worth it. So that means when you upload an image, for example, think of like Facebook or Instagram or whatever. When you upload an image, it's not staying on their local servers. They have a server hosting all of the images. Like Facebook, I assume has their own private servers. I think they do, because it's like the way it's set up, I'm pretty positive that is the case. And even Instagram, last time I checked, is hosting on Facebook's platform for image hosting. And where was I going with this? Yeah, so and then in addition to that, they have compression. So every time you upload a photo, you can see it like gets smaller in size and the quality is a little bit reduced. That's because there's so many images. So anyways, I decided to integrate Tinify and Google Cloud Storage and use those together to help me with lists, so I can reduce the file size and not host it on my server because there's a limited space there. So that is awesome. What else did I like? I fixed all types of stuff with inside lists, like the archive and restore card functionality, the new card and edit card. A bunch of functionality on the back end there changed, specifically in regards to that compression and cloud hosting stuff. And a shit ton of bugs fixed. And I will continue just dominating on the bugs today after I'm done this. Today's just going to be list filled. The other 4 items on my power list are going to be lists. So I just want to close this motherfucker out ASAP. So yeah, that stuff, and then just a bunch of other random stuff within lists. So excited to release this soon and use it especially for myself. Like I've been wanting this since internalized days, something like this. So I'm very pleased to finally get it out. It's just like, fuck, if only I had the capability to code an image functionality uploading system type of thing. Like it's not that complicated, but I super could not do that at the start when I was working on internalized, because I was so new. So I'm very excited that I can do it all now. This is a little bit surprising, but one of my favorite wins is, because I usually talk about like how heavy I've gone in weight, this win is about how low I've gone in weight and the reduction in ego that takes to. So what happened is shoulder press specifically, I'm realizing like how there is a crack in my foundation. There is a leak, if you will. And yeah, there's some sort of muscle somewhere that's it's not as strong as the other aspects of my shoulder press, and it's holding me back from the proper form, and my back is overarching to try to correct whatever's going on. And so what I'm doing is lowering the weight, especially because like I'm also lowering the weight because my shoulder is healing right now, and I wasn't like trying to go for PRs, but I was still lifting relatively heavy still. So it's been really I went down to 30 for 10-ish times 3, and like it's just so weird going so low. Like it's fucking, I'm used to like 60, 55, 50, in that order or something like that. And to go like 5, 6, 8 type of thing with reverse pyramid training. But yeah, I'm just really trying to reduce my ego, go lower, make sure I'm hitting whatever the missing area is, and get the correct form. Even after I was just like doing body weight, and I'm like, what the fuck, like this is burning like a motherfucker right now. And I'm just like up against the wall trying to perfect my form and reduce this curve that goes on in my back. Because I start to do, if you're watching on video, I start to like do this type of thing. And like that's too much of a curve. So you should probably do something like this without locking out in the arms. So I have a bad habit of locking out on shoulder press. But yeah, that's what's up. I am excited to watch how this all goes though with that. What worked? So at times throughout the day, I can feel very demotivated, if you will. I can lose perspective of what the fuck is actually going on, and I get too either short-sighted, or I can start to think too negatively or whatever. And in those times, it's okay to just close my eyes, lay down for a second, and it can be like literally 10 seconds, it could be 5 minutes, what have you. It's almost like a mini meditation. And when I do close my eyes, I'm like remotivating myself, I'm inspiring myself, I'm reconnecting to my why, my vision. I almost start like mentoring myself in my head, which is really cool, which happens after you've drilled yourself on so many books and audios and podcasts over the years. You start to develop this like mini mentor in your head where you don't have to like listen to people necessarily outside. You just kind of know the key concepts of success in your brain, and it's like it's kind of subconscious and also conscious at the same time. You're not like doing it, but you also are doing it. So it's a pretty cool thing. But anyways, you end up like teaching yourself, if you will, without consciously teaching yourself. You're just kind of like ask a question and you'll get a response. And you've got like Gary, or like for me, I have Gary, Andy, Tim, Kevin Trudeau, even Jason Caput, like all of these dudes just like in my brain giving me the answers. So it's really cool. And it's almost like a form of mental mastermind, if you will. But that is one of the things I do when I close my eyes sometimes. And it's been very helpful, and just like, you're just gotta fuck off with the ego. And there's like part of me that wants to, my egotistical side is like, no closing eyes, like get back to work type of thing. But if you're not aligned, it's just like your action is not going to be, your action is nowhere close to as effective as it could be if you are lined up with your vision and your goal. So I think that's fucking crucial to implement something like that. And it's worked really well for me so far. Lowering my eating window. So typically I was always doing 16-8 for 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating. And that's a typical intermittent fasting range, if you will, or cycle. And I've recently moved closer to like 18-6, so 18 hours of fasting and 6 hours of eating, or even closer to 24 sometimes. And I've really enjoyed it. Today I'll probably be doing 18-6 or something close to that, but it's just like, I like to have my window even smaller, and I'm just experimenting with different ways to do this. But I'd like to just get food done and get back to work, because it's such a fucking hassle trying to have all these meals in a day and hit all the calories and all the macros and stuff like that. It takes a lot of time, or more than it should, in my opinion. So that's been very helpful to implement. I touched on this earlier, but just like when pseudocode is sitting in my mind with all the excitement, write that shit down. Like, it's so fucking crucial to just get it out and start working on it a tiny bit. If you cannot do any more, or you're unable to do XYZ task because like computer is loading or frozen, or you're just brain dead and you can't do anything else, just fucking get that pseudocode out and outline the steps for that feature, or just start a little bit of work on it. You don't have to like go overboard because you're trying to focus on the key things, but I think that's been very very meaningful in terms of using time and using something that's already in my brain. I'm not like consciously trying to figure out all the shit, it's just already there. So just get it out. trimming my chest hair. Yep, trim that for the first time. Nipples, chest, etc. I've never trimmed before in that area, and it feels good. My nipples seem to have lost half their size somehow without the hair. Like, they're already tiny, but like they somehow got smaller. So I was interested to see that took place, but it looks good. It looks better. I feel like my chest did look bigger with chest hair, which is interesting. But yeah, I'm glad I did that. And I also took a poll on Instagram to see what people thought, even though I was already planning on trimming, but I was just curious to see what people would have to say, and the votes went almost like 60% trim. So anyways, I'm glad I did that. What didn't work, and how can I improve it? I've been checking my phone way too fucking much out of habit, and just as I don't even know. There's so many different, well, I do know, but there's so many different aspects of it that are making me do it. So that's why it's actually happening. But I have such a bad habit of over checking my phone right now, and that has to change. And my action towards that is having a no phone day today. So that's gonna be good. It's also helpful because today is a shorter day, so that's good as well. But yeah, I'm definitely overdue for a no phone day, and I'm glad I'm taking one today. At times, many times actually during this week, I felt like I wanted to escape whatever I was doing. And this really tends to happen when I'm close to finishing a project. It's like all of Resistance's actions, not actions. It's like Resistance just brings out the big guns and starts trying to fucking shoot everything at me. And sometimes I do actually let it happen. And this was definitely the case this week. I felt like it was trying to force me to stop doing the meaningful thing I was doing and try to get me sucked into other things. And I actually did let myself get sucked into other things. So I would leave like a really important task I'm doing to go and fucking check my phone, or like watch a show. Like, I watched a repeat of a TV show that I love so much. But anyways, stuff like that. And yeah, it's Resistance at its finest right there. And it's so counterproductive to follow that shit. So anyways, what did I write down as the actionable there? Yeah, I think it just embracing the feeling, just actually check if it's a gut feeling or if it's just Resistance trying to play tricks, and yeah, and then keep going if it's aligned, or just embrace it, because or just like, if I crave that entertainment on the side, which did happen many times this week, can be helpful to just find the ideal song or set or whatever that's like closer to focus, and something probably that you've heard before, because then you can focus more. But yeah, my brain does like to do that sometimes. It sometimes craves that entertainment side of things. So that occurred a lot this week, and I had to be cautious of that going forward for sure. Bad cycle of sleeping habits. So it's not nearly as bad as it once was. I'm going to bed at like 1 o'clock-ish right now, waking up at like 8-ish. That's typically what's gone on the past few days. And I miss getting up at 6. I miss going to bed at like 11 or something like that, and just having those long sleeps. I just love them so much. But anyways, so the bad habit definitely comes from this. I can sometimes get lazy around like 7, 8 o'clock, and then 9 o'clock comes and I'm like, fuck yeah, type of thing. It's very, and I say fuck yeah, I mean like, let's get to work, let's do shit. It's very strange. And by the time 12 comes around, I'm like still rolling. I'm like, this is so strange. And that's just what is the case though. And then I'm like, I take my nightly ritual time, or I keep going till 12:30 or whatever, and then it just ends up I'm fucking going to bed at 1 a.m. and I miss going to bed earlier. And that's also been like another less than ideal thing that's been happening, is I need more sleep and I'm not giving myself enough sleep. I think I slept 10 and a half hours last night after I went to bed. I was in the middle of weekly reflecting, and I ended up fucking just falling back asleep because I'm like, I'm so tired right now. It's ridiculous. So yeah, that is the case. I definitely need more sleep, and I've got to do a better job of respecting that, and also getting to bed earlier, and also waking up earlier because I miss that shit. What were my biggest lessons? I realized the key thing to accountability meetings, if you will, or just like getting exposure to anything, is if you desire XYZ and you don't have XYZ, but you keep reminding yourself of XYZ, and it's ideally in person. So like mom and I we've now realized we need the accountability. So we're going to have 2 meetings a week. Okay. And those are really helpful because if you go a long time without a meeting or a checkpoint or an accountability meetup, if you will, or whatever the case may be, it's very easy to like fall off course. And I don't even think it's like the point of getting results. Well, it is at the same time. Let me backtrack for a second. The main part of it, I think, is that you're confronting whatever it is, because if you get enough quote unquote losses in a row and you're not moving forward, but you want to move forward, eventually it becomes enough pain because you're confronting it in person type of thing that you do eventually change it. And I think that's crucial with anything you want to do, and having that in person, or like kind of in person, like something like a FaceTime or a Skype, that accountability is fucking massive. Or even to accountability to social media. Like there's a million different ways to do it. But yeah, that uncomfortable, like kind of, oh, I fucked up, or I didn't do what I said I was going to do, or I didn't follow through, or whatever, or I didn't do enough type of thing, that can be very quickly channeled into action over time. And not even quickly. Over time, it becomes enough. And then once you have all that pain, that can be converted very quickly into action. And in addition to that, the more frequently you can check in and be accountable, the faster that process speeds up. I realized how much I dislike so I'm happy for them at the same time, but I really do believe that it's fucking in disalignment when I see people who want to be the best in the world at what they do, or want to be a billionaire, or want to be super successful, or whatever the fucking desire is. And then they're like posting on their Instagram about how they're like traveling or chilling or fucking whatever. Like that is those are opposites. Like these early 20s and stuff like that are fucking times to grind, not try to appease the fucking social media. I love so much more when I'm seeing, and it's also tough because like this specific example that I saw yesterday was like, I noticed he had a girlfriend, so he's like trying to appease the girlfriend because I'm sure she wants the shit because she cares about what other people think. And these are just my judgments, and I'm assuming, and I don't actually know. It's just generally what is the case though. So until I know better, this is what I'm going to go with. But, and it's their life. They can do whatever the fuck they want to do. But just at the same time, they have to remember that like they desire something really big, and their actions currently, at least on a surface level, seem like they're opposed, because every dollar you're taking away from that vision, and every dollar you're putting into an expensive dinner, or expensive nights frequently, or expensive trips all the time, it's like this is taking away from the long term massively. It's like I heard Gary, he said he bought an apartment instead of renting, and he lost like 400 million on Uber because of it. Like it's shit like that really rings true to why it's so crucial to save every penny you can right now, and just reap the long-term benefits later. And if you really get to it, the whole reason I think people want to do stuff like this is just to appease other people and to try to make themselves seem cool or what have you. And I think it definitely comes from insecurity as well. And that's why it's so powerful to love the process more than the results. It's just, and I say results meaning like the material shit. It's just the fucking way, in my opinion. And I wish more people thought like that. But guess what? It's my competitive advantage on them. So I'm quite grateful for it. And ultimately, I just love so much more when these entrepreneurs, business people, etc., are trying to document their process and glorify the work rather than the material fucking results. It does not inspire me very much seeing people try to front, if you will. It's much more interesting for me to see people's process, what they're thinking about, and trying to actually bring value to people rather than just showing the shit. So, and I say the shit meaning the material possessions, etc. And there's nothing wrong with material possessions, by the way. They're fucking awesome. But just like, you should really, in my opinion, you should really value the process above the stuff and then the cars and all that jazz and the houses and the trips. I just do think the work comes before everything else. Just how I feel about things right now. I learned this next lesson from just observing Brian and observing his stories and like his communication style. And I find that he's very in the clouds, and I noticed that he does not do such a great job of giving a dirt to ground that. Dirt meaning the examples, the explanations, etc. He says very theoretical stuff, which is so good. But in my opinion, so this is just my observation, but in order to be the best teacher you can be, in order to make sure whoever's listening to your message, it hits home the best, it actually resonates and brings so much value that it actually it lands and they can apply it properly. I really do feel that you need those examples, and examples are like the dirt in the aspect. So you've got like the clouds, which is the concept, the idea, etc. And you've got the dirt, which is the examples, the specific context, the explanations, etc. And I do think that there's a reason why the best teachers in the fucking world use both. They first explain the idea, and then they go into examples of how it actually works in the real world. And that is my personal thoughts on currently what's going on there. And I hope Brian listens to this, because I do think that in order for him to be the best teacher he can be with music, he needs to incorporate that in a mindset. He's really good at it with music stuff, not so good at it with life stuff. So just throwing that out there, Brian. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do with that, but that is my thoughts on that. Related to that, I've realized that the closer I get to someone, the more likely I am to correct them and their behavior. And it's not coming from a mean place. It's coming from a let's improve type of place. And yeah, though at times subconsciously it can come from a competitive place, I must say that is definitely part of things. And I also realized this week, kind of related to about this all, is I realized that competitiveness is not always the greatest in a social sense. So with friendships, I can have a gear sometimes where my brain subconsciously, tries to take over in a competitive sense, and it's not the most ideal for for the friendship. It's not always the greatest. It can be great, and other times it cannot be great at all. And I'm just being aware of this pattern within myself and this competitive nature, and I love my competitiveness. And sometimes it can be very detrimental. So I'm just being cautious of that. And who the fuck am I to correct? But yeah, I'm just doing I'm like, it's out of love. That's the thing. Most, like 99% of the time, it's out of love. So, and I would correct people I didn't know, but I just don't feel comfortable. And I do feel comfortable with people I do know, because I'm like, okay, like, we know each other, don't be fucking offended. Like, I feel like most people are going to be offended if I correct, or either not take it, or what have you. I just feel like people are more likely to take it if I know them. And yeah, so that's a good and a bad trait for sure, but it's a trait, and it's something I have right now. So either discard that or keep it or what have you, but I just now know it is the case. I realized this week that things that I am insecure about and could potentially, in theory, be weaknesses, which they aren't, but my ego can convince myself at times that that is the case. And yeah, so I realized that these types of things, these eccentricities, these like things like entrepreneurship, things that I'm insecure about that are absolutely at my core, these are attractive to the right ideal woman for me. And I was reminded of this and realized this based on observation of one of my friends as she was crushing on like these fucking crazy people in the business world. And I'm like, that I look up to, and I'm like, wait, oh yeah, people are attracted to people like this. Like, it's just, sometimes I can forget because I feel so out there and so different that I forget that there are other women out there that do appreciate the weirdness in these type of greats, if you will. Well, I think they're great. So anyways, knowing that that's the case gives me a lot of hope and belief long term for finding that ideal woman for me who does love those things. And it is this ideal woman, whoever that may be, whoever that shows up to be. I have no fucking clue who it could be, whatever. My queen I am long term looking for. Anyways, she will find these things attractive, and I forget this sometimes. Like, I'm like, I can find myself super limited in my beliefs, being like, oh, like no woman will appreciate like entrepreneurship or all these crazy things I'm into, and like I'm probably just so weird to all these people. Like, that's kind of what my ego convinces myself of sometimes. So that is that is super false, and I sometimes forget this. So that was really good to be reminded of that. Thank you, Q. I notice my drive comes a lot from being around other people. And in times when I'm so cooped up like I am right now, like have not spent practically any time with people recently, and I find that when I'm in these zones, I can start to desire things like movies and stuff like that. But when I'm not in that zone and I'm like with people enough, I start to get into a place where I don't need movies at all. I think it's because I start to crave that like human to human interaction, even though that's not going on in a movie, but it's like kind of like at a low level, you're like experiencing other humans. I don't know exactly what it is, but I've also pointed to the fact that I feel like when I'm in person with people, I'm much more like motivated to get shit done. So I don't really need to think about movies because it feels like a movie in itself. And I'm like more motivated and competitive and more accountable. I also have clarity on things I don't want to do or have based on their lives or what have you. So yeah, that's been my awareness around that topic. What challenges did I experience? I've been having a challenge of forgetting exactly what went on in my week. So this little simple hack is just really helping things, which is before I am done, basically just writing out everything I can think of in my Google Doc for my weekly reflection. And then once I run out of ideas, quote unquote, that is when I turn to my thoughts or my journal, if you will. So just like scanning through my journal has been super helpful in reminding me exactly what went on in that week. And I do this for wins already, but just like making sure I scan my journal real quick, because that summarizes exactly what happened. And that's been really helpful. Helped me a lot today because I could not think of shit all, and I'm grateful for that. So that's been a nice little life hack. I was really in ego this week. And when I say I'm an ego, I'm talking about opposite of like self. So think of your higher self and then think of your ego is the opposite of that. And your ego is basically trying to sabotage you and kill you and destroy your world at all times. So just something to keep in mind for that. But I found that a lot of stuff came from my ego this week. So I was really resistant to people, and that came from that. My ego being too high, and the ego running the show, if you will, for parts of things. And that always leads to a lot of challenging things. But I'm just very resistant to people this week. I'm just not feeling people that much. It happens. And I love people, but fuck, they can irritate me sometimes. And like, I was even realizing how irritated I was that when people try to teach me things that I already know, my ego fucking hates that. So yeah, which is such a stupid thing, by the way. It's very unteachable. And yeah, what else did my ego lead me to? Yeah, even Brian and I were fucking bashing heads this week, which does not happen. So, or rarely happens. But it just goes to show how much the ego is running the show this fucking week. I was feeling very lazy and I was resistant to focus. I was like, my brain wanted to escape everywhere except for with a meaningful task. Laziness was not like, it wasn't laziness per se, but I'm not as hyped as I usually am right now. So yeah, that would require changing ASAP. Another challenge is my upload schedule. I am probably a month behind, maybe more in some aspects, less in other aspects within individual series and stuff like that. But I've realized that the longer I wait, the less pumped I am to upload something, because it loses that real-time value proposition, which I think is a major part of documenting. So I'm okay with uploading reflections a little bit late, even though I would like them to be up to date as well. But with time-sensitive things, so for example, a Christmas video that I made, or a Christmas podcast, if you will, that would have been better to upload on Christmas Day or Boxing Day or something like that, or close to that, not right now when we're already in the new year and already almost halfway through the month. It's just, I don't like when I wait too long on this stuff. So that's been a challenge I'm having for sure. Where did I grow the most? The compression and the cloud hosting for lists, images specifically. And that was super outside of my comfort zone for that. It's funny, after I do something, it always seems so fucking easy. But at the time I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was hurting my brain so much, and all the docs I had to read. And it is always a fucking process integrating a new thing into your project or what have you. So that was very challenging, but I grew a lot from it. And I'm glad it's working now, and it's not nearly as hard as my brain was making it out to be. Shocker, this is usually what happens. And I'm glad that that's the case now, because it's so close. And another place that I grew was with the accountability meetings I'm having with my mom for Moxey Energetics, which is what we're going to be tag teaming for energy work and working with real estate specifically. And that was very helpful for me, and I grew a lot, because even though I didn't have much to report in either meeting, because I'm focused on the list right now, and now I can move lists to my side focus, and now Moxey Energetics my main after I finish these little things and then get the MVP out. But where I grew is that the accountability is so fucking crucial. And like I was talking about earlier, it's not the fact that you're getting things done that the main part of it is. The fact that you are checking in and receiving that pain is, I think, the key part of the accountability meeting. So, and not to beat yourself up or beat the other person up, but just be like, okay, like, this isn't working. Let's change things, and let's embrace that pain that you're feeling right now and turn it into productive action. What am I obsessed with right now? I've been obsessed with mochachinos. This literally just came in yesterday in my reality, or at least trying it for the first time. And I just learned about it this week. But hot chocolate and coffee, it's fucking amazing. And at the same time, it also can reduce my quality of life if I am not cautious of it, because too much sugar equals headaches for me. And yeah, but they taste so fucking good. And I've just, as much as I love black coffee and it's forever in my heart, it is nice to experiment with different flavors right now. And I'm definitely just trying different things, because I don't want to get sick of black coffee, and I want to try something different in the day. And so after, because I can't have that during a fast, or else I break my fast. So black coffee for the morning, if you will. And then midday when I start eating, that is when I could have something like a mochaccino. So grateful for those. Those are really fucking tasty. It's been a while since I've brought up a dubstep song on this, or a dubstep anything really. So I will call out my favorite song right now, which is Sauce Boys. And that's one word, and the U in Sauce Boys is a V. And it's by Uber Sudden Death, which has a V as a U as well. And what am I saying? Ulasil. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce the actual name, but it's something like that. And yeah, I fucking love this song. It's officially my second most played song ever in my library, and I only added it this week. I have almost 100 plays on it. and it's fucking great. It's so good to loop. I love that each aspect, so there's 3 drops. There's obviously 3 artists as well, but each drop outlines, or it focuses on one artist as a main, but you can still hear the other 2. So I really like that aspect of it. And it's got one of my favorite builds of all time. And overall, it's just fucking filthy. Like, each drop is so fucking good. It's like, first one's Ula Seal, second one is Sudden Death for sure. And Uber is the 3rd drop. And they're all so good in their own ways. I love them all as individual artists, and this collab is just so fucking good. I did not know it was going to be as... I didn't know I was going to... can't speak. I didn't know I was going to like it as much as I do, but I'm super glad that it's here now and loopable, and I've got a lot of shit done to this, so I'm pleased with that. Holy fuck, I am absolutely obsessed with pausing / doing workouts slower right now. And when I say workouts, I'm talking about a specific movement, doing it slower, because it's very easy to momentum lift, like, but I'm pausing at the bottom of my bench. I'm pausing at the bottom of my squat. I am pausing at the top of my, what do you call it? My calf raise. I'm pausing, I'm trying to pause everywhere I fucking can. And I'm also doing things slower if the pause isn't the greatest use of my exercise. So it's just like really making sure I hit that muscle accordingly in every exercise I can. So it's just a lot less ego on the reps and a lot more focus on strength and building muscle. And yeah, it's really felt good so far. It feels super right. So I'm going to continue with it and continue saying fuck you to my ego, because it's just this long life battle of trying to put my ego in check. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching and listening. It's been really cool. I really enjoyed this episode. I hope this brought a lot of gold to you. And I hope this brought you things you can apply, mindsets, if you will, actionables, tactics, what have you, that upgrade your quality of life, upgrade your results, what have you, whatever you're looking for, an upgraded feeling or something like that. I don't know. Whatever your desires are, I hope it increased you getting those things, or you feeling those things, or you achieving those things, or you having those things, or being those things, whatever. Anyways, if it did bring you enough value, I would love if you could share it with a friend, engage with it somehow. Maybe that's a like, a love, a comment. Follow along and subscribe if you enjoyed it that much, because I would love to have you here for my journey. That'd be super fucking cool. And yeah. Anyways, my name is Josh Moxey, and I will catch you later.